After 3 days of bliss, and alone with no interference from the outside world, the police paid them a visit. They advised Pooja that she needed to appear in court for a pre-trial hearing for her mother and her husband. She was also advised she should find a lawyer to represent her in the matter and that she could return to her home. The officer in charge noticed the alarm in her eyes and explained that the police were detaining her mother and husband and that they would not be allowed to return to her home even if they were released. Pooja smiled the biggest smile when she realized that she was now free to continue her life with her lover in her own house. There would be no interference from a husband she didn't love and a well-meaning and overbearing mother. That same day the two lovers left the hotel and returned to their deserted castle. The king and queen had not been able to return to their palace, but now they were home. It was where they lived together and completed each other. It was where their lovely princess needed to be with them. By now, she had already told him about what had happened to her under her mother's hand and the greed of her husband. She told him that the American police had promised her that they were going to contact New Delhi police and try to get their daughter back. After living for a few days with his beloved in their golden castle, Uncle Jimmy decided to go and visit his first wife and children. When he arrived at the gate of his first wife's house, he found the house was locked and no one was there. The neighbors informed him that his wife and children left America and returned to India. Moreover, they said that his wife sold the house and returned to her homeland for good. Jimmy fell to his knees and began to weep like a small child who had lost its mother. He had never expected that his first wife would do such a thing without his permission or informing him. When Jimmy overcame the impact of the disheartening news, he went to one of the Muslim community leaders to seek his advice and counsel. The house was in the name of his wife because she was the one who bought it with her own money when they were new arriving in America. He had contributed nothing towards the purchase. Even so, the law of America would not allow his wife to take his children away from him and return to India for good without his knowledge and consent. For that reason, he was tempted to go directly to the police, lodge a complaint against his wife, and accuse her of kidnapping his children. On second thought, Jimmy decided to go to a Muslim religious leader and seek his advice before going to the police. When Jimmy reached the office of his Muslim community leader, he was confronted with another surprise. The leader handed over to him his divorce decree, which his ex-wife had entrusted him with. The leader told him that his ex-wife had gone to the courts and filed for divorce. He then told him further that the court granted her a divorce on the grounds of adultery and bigamy. Jimmy had received a notice of the pending action while in jail. He threw the papers away knowing his wife could not possibly be serious. Whenever the jailers gave him papers from the court, he signed the summons and threw the papers in the garbage, thinking he would get things straightened out once he was released from jail. With shaking hands, Jimmy received the judgment of divorce. He tried to find out from his religious leader why his ex-wife had decided to leave the United States and return to India. The Muslim leader gently told Jimmy that he had tried to ascertain the reason for her flight and tried to prevent her from acting in haste, but to no avail. He also said that his ex-wife told no one of her reasons for returning to India. Then, the leader said to Jimmy that no rational Indian would leave the promised land and return to the hellish land that he or she had come from. Rehana Khan leaving with her children remained a mystery no Indian Muslim could explain. After receiving this second heartbreaking news, Jimmy went to some close Muslim friends of his ex-wife and tried to find out from them why his wife had decided to divorce him and take his children and return to India. None of them could help. All of them collectively believed that his shameful affair with the Hindu girl was the main reason, which led his Muslim wife to divorce him and punish him by depriving him of his children. Moreover, they said to him, no woman could tolerate her husband having an affair with another woman. Jimmy said to them that he had married the second woman according to the Sunnah of Allah and His Messenger. The women just told him exactly the way they felt and said to him, still no woman would agree to have another woman sharing her husband with her, even if it was allowed by their religion. One Muslim woman said to Jimmy in his face, wrong is wrong. Whether Allah permits it in His Holy Quran or whether the gracious Prophet Muhammad did it while he was alive. From those exchanges, Jimmy learned a great lesson in wisdom. He discovered that for more than 2 years, he was trying to love 2 women and treat them equally. But his experience proved that marrying 2 women and trying to love and treat them equally is practically impossible. He understood that no man in the world could love and please 2 women at the same time. He concluded that his relationship with his first wife died the first day he fell in love with the young girl that he picked up in front of the jail. Since then, he had been trying to fulfill a religious duty and selfishly imprisoned his first wife for the sake of being close to his children. His marital indiscretions had cost him his first wife, his children, and sent him to jail. Now all he had was a criminal record and remorse that would follow him the rest of his life. Jimmy remembered how his ex-wife was so loving and faithful to him. When he was sentenced to 15 years in prison in Mumbai, she spent a lot of money to get him out of that filthy rotten prison after 3 horrifying years behind bars. She was the one who brought him with her to the States. If it wasn't for her, he would have been there until this present day suffering and rotting in an Indian prison. When they came to America, she was the one who took care of him and encouraged him to work as a taxi driver. She was the one who bought a car and allowed him to use it in his taxi service. She gave him 2 lovely sons. She made her first son treat him as his own father. After all this, what reward did he give to his loving and faithful wife? He fell in love with a girl as young as his daughter and forgot about his commitment to the mother of his children and a faithful and loyal wife. He denied her rights as a wife to be loved and honored and treated her as if she was the babysitter of his children. After falling in love with the young Indian girl, he lost interest in his first wife and very rarely slept with her. When she found out that he had married another woman and that there was a child, she did not kick him out of her house or file for a divorce. She put up with his unfaithfulness and continued to respect him as her husband. Jimmy understood too late that his mistake was being ungrateful to the one who had stood by him through very difficult times for nothing more than a fling. He wept bitterly for his terrible mistake, and the loss of his family. Jimmy still held the belief that his girlfriend was behind his unexplainable divorce and the sudden departure of his wife. He believed that Pooja had threatened his wife and made her run away for the sake of protecting her life and that of her children. After all, Pooja had so much money, she could have paid someone enough money to terrorize her into leaving the country. Wherefore, Jimmy returned to his girlfriend's mansion and had a big fight with her. He accused her of forcing his Muslim wife to divorce him and leave the country. He accused her of paying gangsters to scare his first wife and their children. Pooja cried like a baby, denying every accusation he hurled against her. When Jimmy threatened to leave her for good, Pooja fell at his feet, grabbing his legs and begged him not to leave her. She told him how much she had been through and how much she had sacrificed to be with him. She said that she forsook her loving mother and ran away from her Hindu husband because of her love for him. For his love she left her homeland and came back to America after being away from him for many months. The long separation did not make her forget him or make her lose her love for him. She told him she would pay for everything if he wanted to go to India to search for his family, and she even said she would go with him. She would travel with him to Mumbai and help him find his wife and children, and they could also search for their infant daughter at the orphanage. Her tears and pleadings somehow convinced Jimmy that she was genuine and that she had nothing to do with his wife's decision to divorce him and leave America. Nevertheless, Jimmy told her that he would not leave any stone unturned in order to find out why his wife divorced him, took his children and fled to India. After hiring legal counsel and several appearances in court, Pooja Patel received an official letter from the court informing her that her marriage to Rahul Patel was declared null and void based on the grounds of coercion and extortion, and therefore she was no longer legally bound in marriage to her former husband. The FBI secured the release of Pooja's child from the Christian orphanage in New Delhi with the aid of government services and Indian police officials. The child was then flown back to her parents in the USA. Shortly after being reunited with their daughter, Pooja and Jimmy remarried. The lovers found it socially unacceptable to bring their daughter up as an unmarried couple. Once again, the lovers said their marriage vows to each other. This time they did not do it hiding behind an imam from a mosque, but they were married in a civil ceremony. Father, mother, and child traveled to Hawaii and enjoyed a couple of weeks in paradise. The lovers enjoyed their second marriage and second honeymoon 100 times more than they did their first. The presence of their lovely daughter only added to their joy and happiness. After returning from Hawaii, the newly wedded couple continued to live in Pooja's luxurious house. Their return was not trouble-free, as Pooja's mother once again challenged the lawfulness of her daughter's second marriage to the Muslim man who brainwashed her child. While in jail awaiting trial, Rani Krishna informed her lawyer that Mr. Khan was the stepfather of her adopted daughter and hence according to American law, he could not marry his stepdaughter. Therefore, Rani Krishna accused her daughter and Mr. Khan of practicing incest. The police did not issue an immediate separation warrant to the newly wedded couple on the grounds of an incestuous relationship. They decided to first ascertain the relationship between the spouses. The first place the police started their inquiries was the address of Rehana Khan. The police visit revealed Rehana had left America and returned with her children to India. They then went to the residence of the two suspects, Jamal Khan and Pooja Khan. Jamal and Pooja strongly denied any affinity at the time of their first marriage. Pooja informed the police that her biological mother was living in Mumbai and had never been to America. Jamal told the police that his ex-wife and he had 2 sons together. He admitted that his ex-wife had a son from a former relationship before he married her. He said further the boy's name was Irfan Khan, which he adopted according to American custom. Moreover, he remembered that his ex-wife had a 7-year-old daughter who travelled with her from India to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia many years ago. Jamal failed to recall the name of his ex-wife's daughter. On her return to Mumbai, his ex-wife told him that she had lost her daughter in a car accident while they were living in Jeddah city. In the absence of Rehana Khan, the police could not carry out a standard DNA test to verify Rani's claim. As usual, the investigation of the 2 suspects revealed that both had criminal records. Jamal Khan's history did not reveal much except that he was convicted of bigamy. He was incarcerated and fined $10,000 for his debt to society. The criminal record of Pooja Khan revealed a lot to the police. It appeared that she was convicted by a Mumbai court for perjury and lying to the court in a criminal assassination of character case against a high-profile movie producer in the Bollywood film industry. She was jailed for almost a year before the charges were overturned in her favour. After her release, she won the Miss India contest. Subsequently, she participated in a beauty pageant contest held in London and won the title of Miss World. When she arrived in America 3 years ago, she was accused by her cousin's girlfriend to be a Muslim terrorist and held in custody for 1.5 months, but was cleared of all charges when the FBI could not confirm the allegations. Through information supplied by Rani Krishna, the police learned that Pooja Khan came to be her adopted daughter. Rani could not supply any substantial evidence to prove that the biological mother of Pooja was the woman that Jamal Khan was married to for more than 11 years. Somewhere along the line, Pooja Khan's criminal record found its way to the media. One of the most popular newspapers printed an article headlined, "Former Miss World in Incestuous Relationship with Stepfather." The attention-grabbing headline had a very long and detailed expose following it. It covered her history, which had previously not been disclosed by the FBI. It mentioned that, the former Miss World India had made a statement, which angered and stirred the religious sentiments of millions of Muslims all over the world. She said in her final interview at the Miss World pageant in London, "The Prophet Muhammad is my foot," and also said she is more than willing to spit on the Holy Quran. The newspaper was decried by many for disclosing confidential and sensitive matters concerning Miss World, unnecessarily exposing her to the threat of subversives. They pointed out the second runner-up had to step in to fulfill her obligations as Miss World due to threats against her life. In the meantime, the court looked into the charges against Rani Krishna and Rahul Patel. The jury found both of them guilty of the charges against them. Accordingly, the judge sentenced Rani Krishna to 25 years in prison and Rahul Patel to 30 years on all counts. Being they held no previous convictions against them, the sentence was reduced to 5 years and 7 years respectively. The court then decreed the $3 million Rani Krishna took from the account of her adopted daughter as dowry and transferred into the account of Rahul Patel for the so-called arranged marriage to be an act of robbery and a felony. Hence, the court issued an order for the bank to transfer the monies back to Mrs. Pooja Khan's account. The court also considered the fact that Pooja Khan was impregnated by her illegal spouse, Rahul Patel, and as such constituted rape of an unwilling participant. The court adjudged that she had every right to choose to abort the baby or keep it. Pooja wanted to keep the baby, but her new husband convinced her to get rid of the baby and cut all ties with her ex-husband. Pooja chose to abort the baby before her first trimester ended. Neither Jamal Khan nor his wife bothered to find out whether abortion is murder or not. If they had, they would have known that abortion is not only murder but incurs upon the family the curse of God. Moreover, the court dropped the charges of incest against Pooja Khan and Jamal Khan. The police found out that Rehana Khan had divorced her husband before she returned to India. The court concluded that whether Rehana Khan was the biological mother of Pooja Khan or not, the charges stood null and void on the ground that she had divorced her husband before she left America. The divorce disconnected any kinship between Jamal and Pooja, if at all any such relationship did exist.